Welcome to BOACAST. I'm here today with Ian. Hi, Ian.
Hello, folks.
And today, Ian and I are going to have a brief impromptu conversation about apologies and forgiveness. This one is even less planned than normal, so should be a little random and fun. But let's roll into it. So, I had an interesting conversation, but interesting situation that led to a conversation. And I needed to apologize to somebody. And I apologized, and it did not go well. And that is kind of what prompted my thinking on this front. And this was a few weeks ago. I want to stay away from specifics to protect the innocent. The guilty in this case was me. So I made a mistake. It was just an awkward human mistake, nothing malicious. And didn't realize I had made a mistake until someone told me. And as soon as I found out, I went to go apologize. And that apology made everything worse because the person wasn't ready to hear it. So I guess what I wanted to chat with you about, Ian, is our responsibility to apologize. And then also what forgiveness looks like, both for you, how you conceptualize it, but also our duty for forgiveness and how that affects us and how that affects others. Have any gut takes right away?
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
So we do need to apologize
Mm-hmm.
when we've done it wrong, when we're guilty of something. There's no doubt of that. Recognizing situational awareness to apologies can be crucial.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there's an emotionally charged situation that you're trying to apologize for, right or wrong doesn't really matter. But if there's emotions involved and they're heightened, if you're trying to move a conversation forward, if you're trying to get a resolve, if you're trying to have an apology, it's going to be a lot more challenging for it to actually have a positive effect or go the way that anybody wants in the moment.
Yes.
As much as we want to, and a lot of us, okay, I made a mistake. I need to go write this right now. And that's a good knee-jerk reaction, but filtering it through, hey, okay, is this the right way to do this? Should I do this right now? How fresh is this? Do we need to rush into this?
Mm-hmm.
Has the wound had time to even stop bleeding, or is it still bleeding and I'm coming over to talk about it?
Yeah.
I relate that to, playing sports and being on the field, and something happens and, we're playing softball and somebody gets hit by a ball, not intentionally, and they get hurt and they're upset. Generally, in the moment when they're hurt, upset, pissed off, going over there and apologizing, it doesn't really resonate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the game wraps up and you go over there and you say, hey, my bad. I wasn't trying to hit you. Apologize. Hey, it's part of the game. I get it. But if you go over in that moment when they're hurting and they're angry, they're probably less likely to receive it positively and likely to have a more snap reaction to you,
Mm-hmm.
which then you may never get to a true apology, and you may not get to a true landing resolve of it,
Mm-hmm.
which is unfortunate. Sometimes you try, sometimes you can. And then the follow-up to how we receive that, or forgiveness around an apology, or what that looks like. I think when it comes to the apology side of it, we should apologize. If you know you did wrong,
Mm-hmm.
apologizing as much as you can and as much as is available to you, you should. But the reaction that the other person gets, whether we give it time or not, and how we cannot control that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get to dictate that. And they have every right to react however they want to, whether we think it's right or wrong. They are allowed to their reaction to it.
Yeah.
And when you go in to apologize, to properly apologize, I feel like you must be prepared for that.
Yeah.
Because if you're not and you get a negative reaction to it, now you're emotionally heightened again. And now I got to make this right. I got to try to fix this. Well, you just don't understand. They might completely understand and still be like, nope, I don't like what you did. And I'm not going to accept your apology. Mm-hmm. You're a bad person. Go away.
Yeah.
That might be the case. And it might be a simple miscommunication, a simple misunderstanding. It might be the most benign thing that could happen. But for them and their perspective, it could be different.
Yeah.
And we don't get to dictate that.
It could be very much like, nope, you don't act that way. That was unacceptable. Done. Right. And people can have that reaction. I'm with you. It is our duty to apologize. I think your example of softball is an interesting one, because anytime in sports that there's something that goes on, I think seeking to apologize as soon as possible makes sense. When you make a mistake with your kids, right? Which, neither of us have ever done. But when you make a mistake with your kids, I think it's really important to right away say, hey, Daddy made a mistake. I'm really sorry. That was wrong of me. And I'm going to live up to who I've told you I am and who I've told you should become by admitting I'm wrong and apologizing right away.
I would jump in there though with the right away isn't necessarily that exact moment. Like it shouldn't be something that's left to fester and go.
Agreed.
And come back around to a week later. I mean, some things in life, maybe, yes, they do. If there's a real big wound or a hurt in a relationship, it might need that kind of time. But a lot of things, you don't have to let it sit for days or weeks or anything like that. But the reality is we as humans, when we're wounded, get emotional.
Yeah.
If something goes sideways, we get emotional, and our reactions are not the greatest. We all react differently in emotional situations, and anybody out there, I'm sure, can attest to that you've had situations that you did not handle the way that you would like to say you handled it, or the way that you say that you carry yourself, or who you say that you are, because you were emotional and you went hard left where normally you would be able to process through.
Yeah.
And I think quick to apologize is important, and recognizing the emotional weight of the situation and how giving it time.
Yeah.
I'm extremely guilty of my emotional IQ being off in a situation, specifically with my daughter.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Men and women, our IQs emotionally can be a little different. It happens.
Yeah.
And me wanting to rush to a resolve too soon when she's still emotional about a situation, and my wife stepping in and being like, hey,
hold on,
slow down, buddy. Now is not the time.
This ain't it. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. And I can definitely appreciate that I might be not all with it either on this front. And so I've adopted a default of as soon as reasonable, or as soon as the situation's calmed down, or as soon as possible to me, doesn't mean go put yourself in danger. But as soon as you can form a real apology where you acknowledge, hey, I did something wrong, right? That's another, I feel like it's core in an apology to say, hey, I made a mistake. I did something wrong. If you can't say I made a mistake or I did something wrong, you maybe are apologizing out of coercion instead of.
Yeah, you have to be specific.
Mm-hmm.
You have to own what you've done.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So, and I think if you have a higher charge, more emotional situation, or something that could be more sensitive, I think that's a good opportunity too. If you have brothers or sisters around you, wise counsel that you can say, hey, here's a situation I'm facing.
Mm-hmm.
Got any insight?
Mm-hmm.
I know I need to apologize. This just happened 20 minutes ago. This just happened yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Do I go talk to him now? What do you think? Does this what would you do in this situation? Because sometimes how we perceive things, how we see things, I think about just having conversations in groups and stuff I've been a part of, and I'm listening to somebody share an experience that they've had. And I hear it one way and I go, oh, so you mean this, and that. And they kind of give this kind of look to me. And then somebody else will say, well, no, I see this, and that. Oh, okay. And the person's like, yeah, more like that. So your perception of what you're seeing and how you think, oh, this is got to happen right now. Or no, I should let this sit for a minute, can be skewed because again, you're involved in it and you have that emotional glue to it that can be challenging. And I've definitely had some challenging things situationally with family that it's been hard to handle how to not be emotional with it, own and apologize about the shortcomings and the things that I've done wrong, and be fully accepting of other people, other parties may not accept it. They have ownership in it too. They may not apologize.
Yep.
They may not see it as needing an apology. They may see it as they're not in the wrong at all.
Yeah. They may see your apology as a reason that they don't need to apologize for their part in it. Right. So that's another thing where an apology is you admitting your part and then allowing it to be there, not demanding forgiveness and not demanding an apology in return, because they will show at least their perspective on this and maybe their character by how they respond to that. And, it could just be emotionally charged still, right? It might not necessarily be something you should judge their character on, but the way that somebody responds to an apology in a moment of consideration instead of a moment of gut reaction tells you a lot about how they view the world. So, but yeah, apologies without expecting forgiveness, apologies without expecting an apology in response. Those are key.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, you're hitting on it right there. A true apology requires you to apologize without any expectations. That if your heart is genuine and you are apologizing without any expectations, fully understanding that they may spit in my face, they may call me mean names, they may turn their back on me, they may scream at me, they may yell at me, they may say, yeah, you're wrong, you're a bad person. Okay. You have to be willing to. But the amazing thing about that is that if you truly come with a repentant heart and apologize with no expectations, you're now free of that because you've done what you can do in the situation. You've atoned for what mistake you made. You've made your apology. Whether they accept it or not, it's not in your hands. You can't control that. What happens there going forward as far as the relationship goes, that's a 2-lane street. You only control one lane of that street, but you've done what you can.
May I offer a counterpoint there?
Absolutely.
Once you apologize, you've done your duty. Doesn't mean that you're free from consequence. It doesn't mean that you're free from emotional distress. It doesn't mean that this will not continue on. And when somebody withholds forgiveness and uses a wrong that you committed against them as a justification for continuing to try to make you suffer, you'll continue to experience those things. Now, have you done your duty? Can you walk away with a conscience that says, I've done what I can do? Yes, but you may still have other follow-on things. It's not as simple as saying, okay, you apologize, you're free from it. And if you're not free from it, then maybe you didn't apologize hard enough, right? That's, there is something to be said there if your conscience isn't clear. Maybe your apology wasn't sincere or it wasn't thorough. But once you've truly offered that up, you can still have long lasting emotional hurt from the fallout that happens in that relationship or the situation that occurred.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would concur fully.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that you hit what I would agree with is if you apologize and you still have something in your conscience rattling around,
mm-hmm.
then you probably have to do an introspective look at your apology and how genuine it was or wasn't. Because you'd probably find something in there. And yeah, there can definitely be fallout, pain, and things that ensue after that. I would challenge that to be at that point, depending on the relationship and depending on the severity, if this individual chooses that they're going to progress this into something more or lord it over you, or then that relationship may be one that's taxed to a point that it can't continue. Mm-hmm. It may just simply be that is just not redeemable, because there's no reason, if you have it, they don't have to accept it. That's fine. But also you don't have to stick around in that relationship if they're going to continue to try to bring you down or lord it over you, or when you did this, and that.
Yeah.
How many times do you want me to apologize for it?
Yeah.
How many times do you want me to say, I'm sorry? Like, that's not a healthy place to be. Mm-hmm. Now, if it takes them a little bit while to heal, yeah, I understand that. That's fine. But when it gets to more the toxic side of things, where people start to resent it and hold it against you, then it's probably best to distance yourself from that relationship, that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, easier said than done, depending on the family, friends, coworkers, people that you share life with. It can be a lot more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the reality of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I guess that brings us kind of into a discussion about forgiveness, and apologizing without an expectation of forgiveness is one part of that. And when you are on the end of being wronged, you can't wait for an apology to start the process of forgiveness. Now, one of the phrases I hate is forgive and forget. Forgive and forget. Don't forget. Don't forget. Now, there's something to be said.
Lots.
There's something to be said about forgiving someone and then putting that out of your mind and not using it as a tool against them, right? Because if you're using it as a tool against them, then have you truly forgiven them? However, someone that wrongs you and asks for forgiveness, and then wrongs you again and asks for forgiveness, and wrongs you again and asks for forgiveness, that might be something you need to say, put my guard up, right? Be careful, because this person has shown me a pattern of behavior, and that pattern of behavior is one I should be cautious about, right? And so if you experience a betrayal, it's going to take a while to trust that person again. Forgive and forget suggests, just, move on. What's the big deal? Forgive them. There might be a lot of reasons they got to that position, and pay attention. Be kind, but pay attention. And like you said, that relationship, if that behavior continues, might need to be at more of a distance, because you can't continue to be as close with that person anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say with that forgiveness side, and if it's something that becomes a pattern, something to evaluate, or I would challenge anybody in the situation to is if you start to recognize it to be a pattern, not in the emotional height of said thing going on, is when you actually work on leaning into the individual and saying, hey, so this seems to keep happening. And I'm not okay with that. Like, I forgive you that it has happened. But if it continues to happen, that's going to make it very challenging for me. And actually calling to light this thing and actually having like a true conversation around it. Because I think sometimes with that, until people are really faced with the reality of what it is, they can so easily, oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was late again. Sorry, overslept, forgot we were getting together. Oh, sorry, forgot we had that appointment. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I promised that we'd watch a movie tonight. Whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
It can become so easy second nature that you don't quite realize. Sometimes we ourselves don't quite realize the damage or how many times it's happened or the pattern that we're even developing.
Yep.
So if it is somebody that you value and it's a relationship you actually care about, actually being able to look at them and say, hey, this is not a healthy direction that we're headed. And I care for you. I want this relationship. And if this continues, that's going to make it very hard to have the same relationship we have today. Not in a threatening way, not in a, hey, if you don't do this, I'm not going to be your friend anymore.
Right.
No, like I honor and love the friendship that we have. But if you keep doing this, it's going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to pull back because you have done it multiple times. And I'd rather not that happen. That's why I'm talking to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not when it's just happened, not when it's emotional, not when we're in a apology situation, in a total separate conversation.
Yeah.
Because you care about them.
Well, I'm catching you off the top of your head here.
Yeah.
And if we agree that forgiveness is something that we should do, and we agree that you don't immediately forget and that you should pay attention to that behavior and figure out how that changes your relationship, what is forgiveness? Again, I'm hitting you top of mind here. And so I'll go ahead and offer one of the ways that I view this is that forgiveness is choosing to not foster a sense of justice or vengeance on my side to get back at them. Forgiveness is saying they have harmed me and I'm not going to hold that over their head in a perpetual way. I'm going to allow that to go off to the side. And I'm not, just because I set it aside doesn't mean it didn't happen. Right? Just because I'm not going to use that as a weapon doesn't mean I've forgotten that it happened. Yeah, and I think it's John Deloney says behavior is a language. He might have gotten that from somewhere, but
everything's from somewhere.
Yeah, but he says behavior is a language. They're telling you something. So when there's a pattern of behavior of harm like that, then you have to figure out how do I navigate this. Does that resonate?
Yeah.
Would you add to it? What is forgiveness if not forgetting?
Well, I think the reality is that we're all broken humans. We're all going to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I think the biggest thing that comes with the forgiveness piece is if somebody harms you and or something goes wrong, even if somebody doesn't apologize, because let's lean into that one. So somebody wrongs you and they don't apologize. And now you're wounded by that. And you carry that with you. What does that do to you as a being? What does that do to you mentally? What does that do to your relationship with them?
Mm-hmm.
Some situations you may be able to call to light, hey, this is what happened and it hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to know that. I want you to know that, hey, I've moved past it, but that did hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I've had situations where I had to bring things to attention to people that they didn't realize they did something.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, this is what it is. Like, I forgive you. I've moved forward, but I want you to know it happened because I don't want it to happen again because it sucked. Let's not do that again. But forgiving, sometimes you could get wounded or have something that frustrates you from somebody that you'll never be able to have a conversation with again, or it's not a reality. But if you carry that with you, that's extra mental capacity, that's extra weight that you carry around. And every single thing that you don't forgive and you don't let go is just an extra weight you have to carry with you. So for me, I look at forgiveness as, it doesn't mean that what has gone on was right. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily accepting it or justifying it. Forgiveness is as much for you to just let it go and move on. And some situations you can't even forgive it to the person. You just have to forgive it to God and let him handle it. That's for me. It's a lot of forgiveness and stuff in my life is stuff that some of the stuff I'll never have a chance to have a conversation with individuals, like family members that are no longer here. There's things that you can't have a conversation about it, but you have to forgive the things that might have happened or the transgressions or the ways that you feel about it now. But if you carry that, you think about the people that, oh, well, my parent did this when I was a kid. Okay, well, you're an adult and they've been passed away for the last 10 years. So you have to forgive and you have to move forward.
And forgiving doesn't mean that the pain is gone. It means you're offering up my right to vengeance, my right to justice may never come to fruition, and that's okay. Setting it aside, right? Yeah. I think this also gets more complicated when you're in a situation. I like the boundaries that you're discussing of, hey, this changes our relationship fundamentally if this continues. I like that. And sometimes we're in relationships where that sort of a boundary or that sort of separation, if the boundary is crossed, is not simple or just not doable, right? So if you think about, a 14 or 15-year-old that is developing skills on this front, and they're living in a home where they have a parent that's not healthy. Oof, that's a tough situation. How do you draw boundaries with a parent who's struggling with mental illness or some sort of addiction or something like that? It's a hard thing. Maybe you're in a marriage and for you, marriage is forever and there's no exit. And that marriage is experiencing those sorts of things. Oof. Boundaries are tough in that sort of relationship. Or you're working with somebody who, BPD narcissist, whatever the case is, they can't handle the boundaries. They can't internalize, understand the boundaries. Their natural thing is to push those boundaries. A quick disclaimer, I'm not a medical professional or a psychological professional. Don't take my advice directly on this. Talk to an expert. But when you're working with people that cannot recognize those boundaries, that's difficult to navigate, and forgiveness becomes all the more important to protect yourself and to kind of move through life in a scenario where you feel stuck. Yeah.
And I think in some of those situations, if you can forgive in the moment, good. If you can grow past the situation and forgive for good, great. Because when you're so close to something like that and it's so emotionally charged, I think you can have grace, you can offer forgiveness, but it's going to be limited to its reach based on the emotional state at that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So being that 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid and recognizing this is a terrible situation, I should not be here,
Mhm.
and finding a way to have some grace and forgiveness, as hard as I could be in that time. Amazing if you can do that. I don't know how, no idea.
Yeah.
So the kids that can and the kids that are going through it, I mean, pray for you. I don't, my heart goes out to that.
Yeah.
With that said, once you are able to move past that, getting to that state of true forgiveness, even if you can't actually tell it to that person, because especially now as you develop and you move forward, if you don't forgive and you carry those things with, you can fall into some of those same traps of things. Maybe you don't have the same addictions, or you don't have the same anger, or you don't have, but now it manifests in a different way. But it's coming from the same place and issue
Mhm.
because you haven't forgave it and you haven't let it go.
Mhm.
That is critical and crucial to our development and growth as a human.
Yeah.
I think about my walk with Christ. I accepted Christ. Yeah, let's go. And a couple of years later, whoa, there's even more. A few more years later, whoa, there's even more stuff. There's levels to it, and you get to a different level of consciousness with it and recognition.
Yep.
And when you hit those, if you recognize, oh, I'm still carrying this thing.
Yep.
Okay, here's your opportunity. Put it down.
Yeah. Get rid of it.
You don't, as soon as you realize, you look down, you go, oh, I've been carrying this bag too. Just drop it and keep going.
Get it out of here.
But it's that simple.
Yep.
It honestly is. As soon as you recognize it, okay, well, this is my opportunity to let that go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, saying it's simple,
right?
Is relative.
Simple and easy are not the same thing, right? It can be very simple and very difficult.
Yes, I would say it probably will likely be simple and very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably be almost nail on the head.
Yeah.
But worth it. Mm-hmm. If you can recognize and go, okay, I have to get rid of this thing over there. Because when you do that, now you can set that free. And each time you do that, it's another weight off your back.
Yeah.
That sometimes you don't even realize what it's doing to you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think of some of the things in my own life walking through, especially with my development in my walk with Christ and recognizing sins or just failures of me as a human and as the person I'm called to be.
Mm-hmm.
That I didn't even realize I was carrying. And then when I can drop some of those things and turn away from them because they're not serving me, like I'm going up the mountainside and I just took a 50-pound pack off. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. This is way easier now. Why was I carrying that this whole time?
Yep.
But you don't even realize because you've become so accustomed to it.
Yeah.
You don't realize the
down.
weight until you let it go. So I think that to me is a long-winded way around forgiveness and how that looks. And
yeah. Another quote that sticks with me. I've been trying to figure out who it's from, but refusing forgiveness is like drinking poison and hoping the other person will die.
Yes, I've heard that one. And no, I do not know who to credit.
It's a great one. Well, in the Bible too, Jesus talks about forgiveness, right? And somebody comes to him and says, Jesus, how many times should we forgive our brother? 7 times? And Jesus responds, no, 70 times 7 times. And you might go, okay, so mathematically that's 490 times. But that's not what it means. The number 7 in the Hebrew has special meaning. It's, if I remember correctly, again, I'm not a theologian, I'm not a Hebrew scholar, but the way I remember it is 7 is the number of completeness. So, Jesus, how many times should we forgive our brother? Should we forgive our brother completely? No, you should forgive him more than completely. Completely and completely again. There is no end to forgiveness for your brother. So that's a paraphrase, right? Again, not exactly a scholar.
No,
but it's a good reminder that we should forgive as the Lord forgave us, and we should recognize we can't expect an apology, and we should still forgive. And if we apologize, we can't expect forgiveness. It's still our duty to ask.
Yes.
So that's about what I got. Any parting words?
I think with this, I think the biggest thing is that if this conversation has put anything on your heart of an apology you need to offer or forgiveness to somebody that has apologized to you, or maybe it's just something that you just have to let go, I would challenge you to lean into that. Find brothers, sisters, anybody that you can, that you trust, that you know they care for your heart, and do so. Start setting these things free and watch what it does in your life. It is a powerful, powerful thing to apologize and take ownership for the things you failed in. And it's an even more powerful thing when you can truly forgive and move forward in life and set those things free. So that's what I got.
Thank you for being here, Ian.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching. This is a BOACAST. Becoming Our Age is about learning, laughs, responsibility, and relationships. It is your responsibility to apologize. It is your responsibility to forgive. And doing those two things will improve your relationships vastly. Have a great rest of your day.